within hours last night, I started to get sore through the adductors and the glutes after yesterday's workout with the split squats and the wide stand squats. I knew today was going to be a struggle, waking up early in the morning, 5 a.m. session. It's another, cold, windy day to make it even worse for me. I went straight back to it, man. When you do an exercise for the first time and you get soreness or whatever the case might be, I think the worst thing you can do is not touch the bar, not move for the next few days. I literally think that is the worst thing you can do. I think you need to get more blood to the sides. Basically, that's what I think. Yes, you can stretch and all that, but I think all of that only cools the muscle down, especially if you're statically stretching. So I'm not saying go back to the same intensity and volume that you did before. What I'm saying is you need to go back and do the same thing, light kind of movement, through the same movement pattern. Get the blood in those areas, because after all, the blood is the goal here. If you get blood in there, you're gonna get resources in there. You're gonna get waste product out of there, and you're gonna quicken the recovery period. I always feel better when I do that. If you're really, really sore and you just don't do anything, you're going to be really sore for the next X amount of time. I always feel like if I go back the following day and revisit the same movement patterns, it sucks, man. It sucks for the first few reps, definitely, maybe the first few sets even. But once you kind of get the blood going in there, warming it up, getting the resources in there, the oxygen, the blood, all that stuff, you start to kind of feel better. And I woke up this morning and I thought, my Lord, my adductors are short. Literally walking was a struggle. But as I was walking around the house, getting myself ready for the session, I started feeling a little bit better, And then you get to the bar, you start moving the bar, all of a sudden you feel better again. And now I'm sitting here talking to you guys and I'm like, man, I feel pretty good right now. I'm sure it's going to, cool down again. I'm going to work now, so I'll be on my feet. So maybe that's a positive. But I'm sure if I sit down and work for like 5-10 minutes and I stand up or whatever, I'm going to seize up again. But, you have to keep moving. You have to keep moving. These wide stand squats, man, I'll tell you what, I can't even recognize myself when I see myself on the screen doing it. Not only is it ugly to me, but it's also very ugly the way I'm doing it. I've seen people do a way better looking wide stand squat. I don't have the mobility. I kind of worked that out when I was trying the sumo squats, deadlifts. Don't have the hip mobility to keep my knees out. I don't have any strength in that range. I'm still doing a high bar, which is probably not the greatest idea, but that's kind of what I'm familiar with. So I'm doing a high bar to very questionable depth. I just feel like I hit a wall. The adductors just get to a point where, if I want to go any further, they're going to have to pull on other structures. So I think if I went even lower, I would literally start to have butt wink. And so for me, when I'm kind of squatting, I'm always kind of keeping a mind on what the lower back is doing, because that's the whole point for me. The lower back has to be rigid, it has to be straight, it has to be strong. So I stopped it. I stopped this range of motion at it seems like a freaking high. Like I feel like I'm quarter squatting. When you squat to ATG, narrow stance, anything other than that kind of feels weird. When you're squatting to a box, you kind of feel like, oh yeah, destination kind of arrived. But when you're in midair like this, you're like, oh my Lord, I'm so far away from the ground. It's a weird feeling, but it's a weakness. I've definitely spotted another weakness. I'm just weak. I'm weak in that position. When I say weak, I'm weak relatively to where I feel my strength at. I remember a lot of people telling me, Ivan, if you go low bar, wide stance, you're going to be doing 240, 250. No way, man. Maybe there's a period of acclimatization. So maybe if I, spend X amount of time with this, I'll start to get better. I'm sure I will. Because, I feel like I have utilities there. I have strength somewhere in the body. I just can't express it in that range, in that stance. But right now, I feel like I might tear in two. Literally, that's what I feel like. The adductors are so tight. When I'm in that stance going down, I literally feel like I'm going to unzip from the freaking pubic bone all the way to the head. Like I'll just collapse. Not a lot of stability there. It only makes sense, man, because when you're squatting narrow stance, there is no requirement for, there's like no force, you know, pushing your knees in. Because your feet are so narrow, the natural fall of your knees is out. So you're never going to have knee valgus when you're squatting narrow. That's what it seems like to me, unless you're doing something different to me. So when I go wide, all of a sudden the knees, just pure physics, you know, structural physics, or whatever, engineering. When you have a wide stance, the forces are going to want to go directly down to the floor, right? And so that's going to medially try to collapse your knees, or inside, like to the midline. So now all of a sudden there is a abduction requirement, abduction, right? Pushing the knees out. So all of those muscles involved in pushing the knees out are required. Not only that, but because of the wide stance and because we're going low, the adductors get called in. The adductors are being stretched hardcore. During the eccentric, definitely, I feel them, you know, screaming for dear life, what are you doing to us? You're going to tear us off the bone. That's kind of the sensation I'm feeling. That's why I'm kind of going really high. You know, I'm not asking too much of them. And they're screaming now, and I'm likely going to be, you know, sore for the next few days. And yes, for the next few days, I will be doing wide stance squats just for this kind of storm to pass. I thought about doing pin squats. I'm limited for time, you know, in these morning sessions. So I thought, let's just do the wide stance, do the normal squats, and then get to work, you know, get out of here. So right now, the way it seems, man, like as I'm juggling all of these elements, you know, I'll be doing pin squats on days off, you know. And right now, it looks like I'm only going to be doing block pulls once a week. I've had an opportunity yesterday. I wasn't feeling it. I thought about doing it then. If I did it yesterday, it would have been like twice in a week, something like that. But now I'm getting to a point where I'm realizing that these block pulls are very taxing. And because of the schedule, because of all the other stuff that I'm doing with the pin squats and all these things, the only thing left for me is to do it once a week. And so I'll find a spot in my schedule when I have a day off. And I'll probably look for a moment where I have a day off the following day as well, because block pulls, man, they zap my soul, man. You know, I've said many times before, squatting for me is a much more, you know, I'm much more resilient doing that than I am with deadlift. So I'm kind of like scared to almost do a workout like that with the block pulls and then go to work, because I really need to be, you know, close to a bed or a sofa after those sessions. But that's what it is. You know, a lot of people will be like, man, why are you doing something again where you're really sore? But I do it not because I'm thinking I'm going to gain something out of it, like, oh, more gains or whatever. It's literally just so I can get through life. It's literally just so I don't have to, like, be in pain and discomfort for longer than I should. So when I go to these movements again so soon after, like, well, yesterday I finished the workout, what was it, at like 5, 6 o'clock? And now it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So 12 hours later, I'm back at it again. So I'm sure by tonight, you know, 5, 6 p.m. tonight, before I come home from work, I will be probably limping. It's just the way it is. That's always the case when you start something different, especially when it comes to adductors. I don't know any other, maybe adductors and hamstrings. Like if you're doing RDLs and you haven't done RDLs for a long time, or any similar movement, hamstrings and adductors are literally, like, I don't know if you guys agree, but that's probably the most painful DOMs I can feel on the body. It's just, it must be the eccentric loading that really gets them, and nothing in the body gets loaded eccentrically as heavy as those two muscle groups. That's how it feels to me anyway. All right, guys, so let me get out of here. You guys can probably hear the rain. I'm probably going to get soaked now on the way out. Appreciate all of you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.